Hello and welcome to the Genuine Ginger Experience. I am your host, Mackenzie Quintana, and I am so excited to be here. Okay, like literally though, I have been thinking about doing a podcast for a really long time, and I decided to do it, and I was just in bed laying there like thinking of all the things that I wanted to say. I've been thinking about it for a while, and I was just like, I'm just gonna get up and do it. So I did. It is 11 o'clock at night. The rest of my house is asleep, but I am so excited. So I'm here and I'm so excited to share with you. I am like shaking and a little bit nervous, but I'm just so excited. So, on this podcast, I am going to share with you how I went from being surface level happy to living a life that I truly love. And it's going to be so good. I am so thrilled to be starting this and to be sharing this with you. So, first, I want to share a little bit like, okay, so what does surface level happy even look like? Hello, like I said, my name is Mackenzie Quintana, and I was born and raised in Mexico. So, sí hablo español. I speak Spanish fluently. I don't look Mexican. We'll get into all of that maybe in another episode, but so I was born and raised in Mexico, and I actually married my high school sweetheart, and his name is Angel, and he is my world. And we have 4 kids. They are ages 3 through 9. So little kids, 4 of them. It's crazy. So quickly after, and like that was my dream. My whole life was basically to marry Angel and like have kids, have a family. And I quickly realized after I started our family that it wasn't all it was cracked up to be. And of course, like I loved my kids, and like of course there were lots of moments of joy, but joy wasn't like the overall feeling I had when I looked at my life. I was talking to a friend today actually about this, and she was sharing the same thing, that like, yeah, like I experienced joy, but like it wasn't there all the time. Like it was just little moments here and there. It wasn't like the overarching feeling. And that's exactly what it was like for me. For me, it was more like, is this it? Like, this is my life now, is like changing diapers and cleaning up tiny messes and giant messes and like cooking and waiting for my husband to come home from work and cleaning. And like a lot of times it was very lonely, and it was honestly like very boring and just unfulfilling. Like, and I felt terrible, and we'll get into all of that probably later on, of like the guilt that came from like not loving being a mom and all of that. But I loved my kids, but it was just like, this is it. Like, I didn't know it was going to be this boring. So that was what surface level happy looked like for me. Maybe you're kind of in a similar situation. Maybe it looks a little bit different for you. That might be something for you to consider. Like, are you in that state right now where you're just kind of like, yeah, there's moments of happiness, but like overall it's just kind of blah. Like your life isn't really what you thought it was going to be. And I'm here to tell you that you can change that it can become what you want it to be, and it can be even more than what you want it to be. And oh my gosh, I am like, my whole body is shaking right now. I don't think it's nerves. I think it's excitement that I'm finally doing this. So if my voice is like shaky, bear with me. I know I'll get better at this as we go. So, okay. So this podcast is going to get a lot juicier and juicier as we go. I promise. I'm going to probably be sharing more bits and pieces of my life and, just different things, and sharing what I've learned to help me kind of make this change. But I feel like I need to share kind of my backstory, and so that you can kind of see, I kind of shared a little bit so you could see where I was coming from, but even more so because I feel like a lot of times when we see someone, especially like on social media or online, and they like talk or they act or they look like they have their life all put together, it's really easy for us to compare. And it's really important, first off, not to compare, but but also just to recognize that like I might be in my chapter 12 where you're in your chapter 4, like as far as this journey of like finding joy and really living a life you love. So let's just not compare. Let's just not do that. But I just, because I just want you to realize that like I'm really not much different than you, in terms of where I came from maybe and where you are now. And maybe you're not, like maybe you are in a really good place, and that's great too. And I know that you can still find value in this podcast. So like I said, I spent the first like 5 to 6 years of my married life just kind of feeling like, okay, well, this is like not that great. I remember often I would go to bed at night and I would just like say to my husband, like, I don't want to go to bed. I don't want to go to bed because I don't want to wake up. And it wasn't because I was depressed or like suicidal or anything like that. It was just that I didn't want to wake up and face another monotonous day. My sister, I remember like hearing her talk about it and just being like, yep, I get up and I open the blinds and I do my day and I close my blinds and I go to bed, and then I wake up and I open the blinds and I do my day and I, same old. And that's like exactly how I felt. Like I get up and the kids need me. Well, I'm woken up by the kids that need me, and I'm annoyed because they woke me up, and I'm grumpy because I want to keep sleeping. I didn't get enough sleep, and they want something from me, and I just want to sleep, and I don't know what to make for breakfast that they're going to eat because one day they like something and the next they don't. And like, it was just that monotonous of like, yeah. And I didn't like, I have 3 older sisters and an older brother. I'm the youngest child. And I have a couple sisters that were like always very much kind of into like the self-development scene. And like they would talk about like, these books that they were reading or these podcasts that they were listening to, and like, all of these things that were like so great. And I was always just like, blah, 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 blah. Like, leave me alone. I don't want to hear about all the things that I could be doing different to be better because I don't want to change. Like I of course, like I wanted a better life, but I was not willing to make the change. And I don't think I necessarily recognized that. But I very much was just like, whenever they would try to talk about stuff, I was just like, whatever. Like, I'm not interested in self-development. And like, I grew up in religion. And so like, I am religious. And so there was always like that part of it of like, well, yeah, like I want to try to be better so that I can like, fulfill my purpose in life. And I'm a daughter of God. And so like, I am great and, all those things. But, I don't know, like I wasn't super interested in like doing anything really outside my comfort zone. It's really what it like boiled down to. And so hold on, I gotta gather my thoughts. Oh yeah. So like I said, wasn't interested in self-development, but also really wasn't happy with where I was. And I remember I feel like what helped me kind of ease into it without actually realizing that I was kind of getting into self-development was my oldest sister. She learned about dressing your truth. If any of you have heard of that, I would love to hear it. And it was about, so like she learned about like dressing your truth. Oh yeah, I shared that, like being your truth, dressing your truth. And so she started telling me about this like dressing your truth stuff, and I was like, ooh, fashion, okay, that's fun, that's interesting. And it's, if you don't know about it, it's this woman, her name is Carol Tuttle, and she developed, I hope I can like, I don't know what's like allowed on these podcasts, if I can like name brands and stuff like that. Anyways, hopefully it's okay. So in a nutshell, she like had like figured out, I guess, that there's like, in her mind, in her opinion, there's like these 4 different types of people, and depending on what type you are, if you dress a certain, like, you can dress a certain way that is really honoring to the type of person that you are, and like not necessarily your personality, but like who you actually really are, like at your core. And so like it kind of started with that of just like, oh, okay, like I want to learn, like I want to learn how to dress best for me. And so I started learning more about that. And what I didn't realize in this process of like learning how to dress according to who I was on the inside, I started really learning about who I actually was. I remember having these moments where I realized like, oh, like that's why I do this, or like, oh, like it's not like like again, my sisters would tease me sometimes because I like, for the most part, they are, I would say more of like a go-getter type, and I am I at the time wasn't at all. So they would tease me about like being lazy, or like being slow, or like letting my kids watch a lot of TV and like stuff like that. And I like, so then in this like process of learning how to dress, I like learned about myself and learned that like, oh, actually, like it's okay that I don't want to like be a go-getter. It's okay that like I kind of like to move at a slower pace. It's okay that I have, different ways of doing things. Like it doesn't mean that there's something wrong with me because I'm different from my sisters or different from the other people around me. And it really helped me see that some of the things that I thought were weaknesses were actually really incredible gifts and really great things about me. And so I feel like that was kind of the first step towards me like being willing to change, was kind of accepting who I was in that, like accepting and like recognizing my gifts as the person that I was then. And I feel like that is really powerful. I feel like you have to accept who you are. You have to accept your life as it is and kind of come to terms with it and be okay with it before you can really change it in an effective way, and change it in a way coming from love rather than coming from a place of like hate and annoyance and like, I've seen this example with like health and like losing weight. Like if you are shaming yourself and hating yourself to a better body, you're hating yourself or shaming yourself to being skinnier, like that is, it's not going to be sustainable. Like it's not, I mean, you can do it, but if you can try to be healthier and do it from a place of love and acceptance of where you are at, and that you just like really love yourself and you want to be healthier because you love yourself, it's much more powerful. And so I think that's kind of, I had to get to that place before I was ready to really make changes and do things that were getting me outside of my comfort zone. I had to be okay and learn to love and accept who I was just as I was, and let it be okay that I was who I was. And like I said, recognize that like I actually do have things that are really great about me. And I would say that I was like a confident person. I definitely like wasn't one that was like, oh, well, I did say like, poor me. I was, okay, yeah, I was definitely like the victim of my story. We'll get into that another time, I'm sure. But like, I was confident, but I was also very insecure, I guess you could say, on the inside. I was also always like second guessing myself and wondering why I didn't have friends, and wondering if it was because like I wasn't worthy of having good friends, even though I didn't realize it. So yeah, I feel like I didn't really plan a good way to like wrap this up, but that's kind of like the first, I feel like the first chapter, the first step to like allowing myself to even desire a change and be willing to make a change and do things that were outside of my comfort zone so that I could live a life that was truly joy filled and not just like this surface level, yeah, I'm happy, but on the inside it's like, oh my gosh, I really hope that this isn't what my life is. Like, this is, I hope there's more to my life, is basically what it was. And I didn't realize that there was more to my life, but that the more was up to me. It was up to me to make changes to get me out of my comfort zone and grow, is really what the joy and it all comes down to, is stepping into greater levels of growth and so much more that we'll get into later. So thank you. I'm actually really proud of myself for making this only like I think we're going on like 15 minutes because I love to talk. That's one of the reasons I decided to do a podcast, is because I feel like I am able to express myself so much better in more time. I am on social media. My Instagram is the.genuine.ginger. So I would love for you to connect with me there. And I do like reels and stuff like that, but I find myself having a really hard time condensing what I want to say into like even a minute and a half of like reels. So that's kind of where I was like, maybe I should find another avenue for me to like express myself and get myself and my message out there, where I can really like be myself and share myself, which is a little bit more lengthy than a minute and 30 seconds. So, but yes, I would love for you to, like I said, connect with me on Instagram. I am also on Facebook, just Mackenzie Quintana. I'd love to be your friend there. But Instagram is kind of my jam. So the.genuine.ginger. And I'm also, by the time this podcast is launched, my website should be launched, and it is thegenuineginger.com. So that should be easy to remember. I'd love for you to check me out there. That sounded weird. It's okay. We're just going to keep going. And I'm just really excited to see where this goes. And I really appreciate you coming along this ride with me. Like I said, I know it's going to get juicier and juicier as we go along. This is kind of just laying the framework and the foundation of where I started and kind of taking it little by little so that you can get the whole journey and the whole ride, because who wants just like the middle part of the story? No, you got to get the whole thing right. And I'm going to share with you as I go. So, okay, thanks for being here. I love you, and we'll talk to you soon.